It's about a
Okay.
half second delayed, but it doesn't matter, Clay,
Okay.
because we're live and we have to roll with the punches now because this is the punch list. Uh,
That makes 2 weeks in a row. You caught me talking about my microphone as we went live. How embarrassing.
it's not embarrassing because you know what? Let's push it behind us because on a punch list first, Nerds on Earth, we are here with an esteemed War MVP in Marvel Strike Force. Let's get the badge right up top.
Oh,
Clave is the
man.
MVP this week. Uh,
Man.
had an
For,
amazing war in Marvel Strike Force. Clave, how did you do it? And tell us what's going through your mind as a champion.
well, first for context, a lot of us nerdsonearth.com writers, we play Marvel Strike Force together, a little mobile game. Because we're Marvel nerds. Spoiler, it's not
Yeah,
that it's a
no
super
surprise.
engaging game, but we just like each other and we like Marvel. And I'm a chump in that game. And and so for a couple weeks I'm like, man, like I just need a little, like I need to feel like I belong, like I can hang with the big boys. Not that I'm still even close to a big boy, but I got an MVP award that is a meaningless designation, but feels good right in here because now I feel like I can at least I'm contributing. I'm a
It's
contributor.
it, it's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
Don't belittle it. War MVP is no slouch. It's no joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, I didn't get anything for it other than bragging rights, and I'll take it.
because that's what we do at the punch list. We take what we can get.
That's
Sometimes
right.
it's 7 news headlines. It's always, you know what? It's always 7 news headlines, but
It's always seven.
you never know what you're going to get. For those of you who are visiting us for the first time, Punch List comes out every Wednesday over at nerdsonearth.com, the website. And it's the nerdy news from the past week that you need to know to stay caught up in the world of news. I'm in other discords besides the Nerds on Earth Discord, which you should join, by the way. And a couple days later, after a big news bomb drops, they're like, "Oh, did you guys hear about who got cast in Star Wars?" And it's like, I've already known about this for 2 days. We are
So
on the cutting edge of news here at Nerds on Earth.
indeed, indeed.
So let's talk about it. Number 7 on the punch list this week. We've talked about Spider-Man 3, I think, 4 weeks in a row now. Um,
Yeah.
but it's starting production. Tom Holland has announced that he is on site in Georgia, in Atlanta, the Big Peach, and they are working on the threequel to the Spider-Man MCU film that is set to release at the end of next year, December 17th, 2021. Clave, what hasn't been said about Spider-Man 3 that we can talk about?
Well, two things. Two things I want to talk about. First of all, DC had their big online streaming thing where they announced a ton of stuff. I can't remember a lick of it. Like, I guess it was interesting, but I can't recall it. But my point is, during that time, folks were like, "When are we going to get Marvel Cinematic Universe?" Because that's the news that we want, right? We want those Marvel news. So it's finally trickling out. Uh, Marvel has not had this big press release extravaganza,
Right.
but some of the news things are trickling out, which is good. I don't want to say anything else about Spider-Man 3 because we can't figure out that movie.
Right.
It's 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 got this weird
It's an
Sony,
enigma wrapped up in a Sony mystery.
and yeah, Doctor Strange is in it, something else. We know from the last Spider-Man movie that J. Jonah Jameson discovered this whole, well, Mysterio tricked him. You're a Mysterio
Oh,
fan,
I
Sinister Six.
love
Mysterio tricked him.
Mysterio.
So anyway, we don't want to talk about the movie because the movie's whatever. But it is nice to get
Little
some things are going back in production, which is interesting because I don't know if you've heard about this thing called COVID. It has turned over some apple carts in terms of the uh, movies. I don't like it. It's not good. It whatever.
well,
So that's the thing. But here's the second thing I want to say. I used to live in Georgia for a bit, and I kind of like that Georgia is now the Hollywood of the eastern United States. Because last time well, not last time, several years ago, I visited my buddies from long ago when I used to live there, and they film a lot of The Walking Dead, and we got to take a little tour of some of the
Mm-hmm.
Walking Dead sets. It's like a little tourist thing now. So my point is, one of these days, let's get together and let's go down to Georgia and let's tour all the hot spots for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is awesome.
Yeah. Are there? I'm not familiar. Are there any spots that we know of for sure that have already been in MCU films that were in Georgia?
Oh, probably not.
It is. It is
like
just now the
they
new
film
Hollywood
it,
of
they
the
film
East.
it there, but the set, you know,
Right.
like think about Endgame, the set was space, whereas The Walking Dead,
It's
you know,
city.
you had
right.
zombies shambling around, you know, the streets of rural Georgia. So the show Walking Dead was a little easier to turn into a tourist trap, whereas the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not as easy. But still, don't steal my joy, Abram.
It's
One of
not
these
it's not going to
days.
be a trap though with the MCU. That's not a tourist trap. That's a tourist destination. That's
Yeah,
something you
yeah,
plan a trip around.
yeah. I just love it. I'm just excited, and I want any reason to experience joy in 2020. That's what I'm getting at.
That's what we all need. That's what we need. And I'll take previous hometown, previous living state news as joy.
Yeah,
That's where
yeah.
we're at.
The bar is low. We'll take it.
Swoop in news. We're ready. So Spider-Man 3 is in production. Number 6, another MCU new. Actually, we got a lot of Marvel stuff this week.
Woo!
So if you're not a Marvel fan, get on that train. Shang-Chi has wrapped on its filming. So one project starts, another one ends. And it's awesome. The Legend of the Ten Rings. It is set to release on July 9th of next year. It's the first American-made superhero movie with an all-Asian cast. I can't wait to see this. I think it's going to be
Yeah,
phenomenal.
it's gonna be great.
Like I don't know. I don't. And again, that's coming from just an MCU fan, a very base level, comics knowledge person. But I'm really, really excited for this. I mean, the possibilities there are I don't know. I don't even, I can't contain it. July. When's July? How many months?
Well, we'll see if it happens, right? Again, COVID. Don't mean to steal your joy, but things are shuffling. And yeah. I mean, frankly, this isn't huge news because
Right.
when a show wraps, they often do reshoots, which are, they have scheduled time and reshoots, and things have been shuffling. So I suspect that they'll go at least assemble part of the cast and do some few touch ups and
Right.
maybe to like it's Marvel, maybe they're filming a cameo and they get a from another thing, or as something shuffles through the timeline, they throw in those Easter eggs at certain times.
They got to do
So
the
it's
end
exciting.
credits scene. They got to get that.
That's right. So just a little bit behind when a film says they wrap, there's almost always some reshoots in there, and that is scheduled time. It's predicted time that they'll come back and touch up some things in post production to get it ready for July, which is exciting. And again, I'm the same as you. I think it's going to be. I mean, what a fun story. We did some articles on Nerds on Earth about potential thing. That character. We've already seen Jimmy Woo in Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp, and so starting to bring together some interesting characters that are on the
crossover.
fringe. Yeah, there's a team, Agents of Atlas, that might show up, or some of the characters from this movie turn up in the Disney Plus show. And I love that about the MCU, the way it's connected. You can watch them individually, but if you watch them all together, oh, what a joy.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I had something else to say. I can't think of what it was. Oh, you said something about a gift. I was going to make a joke saying that Christmas is 2 months away, and so you can put Shang-Chi under the Christmas tree if it was at the end of 2021, maybe.
Yeah.
So that one didn't land. Number 5, we'll move on. It is Moon Knight news. So Oscar Isaac is reportedly in talks. We've heard a couple rumors both ways saying he's confirmed and he's just in talks. So we'll just keep it at he's in talks to star in Marvel's Moon Knight series on Disney Plus. Oscar Isaac, I don't know if he's really well known at this point. We were talking in the Nerds on Earth Discord how we wish he was in some some sci-fi or something.
Wish he had some nerd cred. I mean, where have we seen that guy?
So it's no. So obviously from Star Wars.
What?
Yeah. News flash. Take us back to the subsequent sequels, the sequels, and we can release the Oscar Isaac news.
Yeah, man. If this isn't confirmed and it turns out that he is not Moon Knight, people are going to be brokenhearted because doesn't this seem like great casting?
It seems really
good. So good. And so Moon Knight is another character we've written about a lot on Nerds on Earth. Not a lot, but enough to whet your appetite. And Moon Knight's an interesting character. He's complicated. He's a street level hero, mysterious, suffers from schizophrenia, so he has alternate
personas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like different. Yeah, I don't know how you describe it.
And it comes from an ancient moon god, and so talking about a fun series on Disney Plus, there's going to be some wild things. And Oscar, he's a good actor. He's a good actor, and so I think he will do fantastic in the role. He looks the part from what you would imagine. Maybe Mark Spector would seem, just a handsome actor with a strong presence on screen. So that's a lot of fun, and man, I hope it works out because there are other characters that are rumored to appear, like Werewolf by Night. And pushing it back to where we started from, Marvel Strike Force, the supernatural characters in that mobile game, we have chatted back and forth. We're like, man, wouldn't it be fun to have Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night and some of those supernatural fringe. So in the MCU, we obviously have SHIELD, we have the Avengers, and we have so many characters already. But now that Marvel has bought Fox, we're going to see the mutants come in. We're starting to see with Doctor Strange, we've started seeing magic, but then that supernatural element is going to grow. And we've written about this on Nerds on Earth as well. It's just how wonderful that Marvel Comics is as a setting, because you can
go anywhere.
Any of these different genres work. Ant-Man is a heist film. Captain America: Winter Soldier is just a spy thriller. But then you also get character studies and supernatural. So this is great news, and it expands another corner of the Marvel Universe. It's awesome, and a good actor. If it turns out it is not confirmed, we're going to be mad.
Because we put it on the punch list.
Don't make us look silly, Marvel.
It makes it fact. The point you made about the MCU going in so many different niches is so true and so spot on. And I think it's always hard, especially when you're dealing on either pages of a comic or on the silver screen, how you talk about, like, how do you present magic in a world where not everybody has magic, or how do you present these cosmic level threats, and how do you, like, portray to the viewer, to the reader, that this is huge, like, this is a big deal. It's not like an everyday walk in the park sort of thing, even though, Captain Marvel and these heroes are so powerful. It's like, this is hard for them too. So how do you, like, work on the different scales of the MCU? It's really, really cool.
Yep, and they do it well.
They do it very well. Awesome. So Moon Knight, possible Oscar Isaac casting there for the lead of Mark Spector. Number 4, we're shifting over to D&D, a little game. 5th edition, Unearthed, Arcana, New Ranger, and Monk Archetypes are on the way. So the Monk's Way of the Ascendant Dragon, and the Ranger's Drake Warden, which both kind of draconic-based archetypes, which is very cool. Who doesn't love dragons in a game called Dungeons and Dragons? It's a reason it's in there. So pretty cool to have some more player options, Clave.
Yeah. For context, Unearthed Arcana is a little bit it's kind of a playtest document. Like, hey, we're going to give you a little teaser. So these will probably be polished, roughed up, and polished again
Yep.
to appear in a future book. The next book that is scheduled for release is Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
Everything. I think it is of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's coming in November, which means it's already at the printer. Hopefully, we'll get our copy soon. So these options aren't going to appear in that book. So it seems like they'll probably appear in a future book, like next year. Maybe there'll be more player options. The way D&D 5e is doing it, you and I, we're Pathfinder guys. We like a little bit more options and a little bit more variety.
Right.
Flexibility, right? D&D 5e is not that game. It's they have their classes and then they do subclasses. And so these are subclasses for existing classes, and quite frankly, they've been tweaking the Ranger since the launch of the game.
Right.
And so I've kind of lost track on where that is, where the subclasses are with that. But it's always good to get new player options, and we'll see how they land.
And everybody likes, the thing everyone loves about Rangers is having a pet and having an animal companion to run around. So who doesn't want a Drake that gets more powerful as you level up? I don't know what level you go up to. A young baby dragon? I don't know.
It's math. It's science that the best levels in D&D are levels 3 through 9. Everybody knows that. That's an objective truth, Abram. And so it better be by level 9.
It's also the most played levels, because if you have campaigns going past level 10, the drop off there is
totally.
That's why you don't see as much high level modules and adventures, because to start from scratch and level up a character that much it's overwhelming to get to level 15 from 0. But at the same time, there's way more people playing levels 3 to 9, so that's where the content is.
Well, and one of the legitimate knocks against D&D 5e is that level 1's pretty boring, and even some of the classes, their classic iconic abilities, you don't even
level
have
3.
Level 1.
Level 3.
Right. But luckily you level up pretty quickly to get to level 2 or level 3, and that's when things start to get fun.
Yes, agreed. So go check out Wizards Unearthed Arcana to get more information on those archetypes if you want to give them a test spin. Number 3, Critical Role has expanded with a new tabletop game publishing company entitled Darrington Press, headed by Matthew Mercer and Ivan Van Norman. So this is a division of their brand, so it's under the Critical Role umbrella. They already have announced a bunch of different titles that are coming, so obviously this has been in the works for a while, waiting to sort of get a head full of steam before they announced anything. I was on Twitter when all the news was coming out, and you just see all these people saying, finally I can talk about this, and finally I got this coming, and stuff like that. So if you go to the link in the punch list, you can see all the stuff that's already announced for what's coming in 2021 for that.
Yeah. Boy, this is interesting, isn't it?
It is.
So they are starting a company, and their announced titles are board and card games. So I think there was one RG role-playing product announced, but it's interesting because we just talked about how they licensed out the Critical Role name for Munchkin.
Yes,
remember?
We did.
And
we did.
And we're like, hey, whatever, that's cool. There's a Critical Role version of a popular board game. But we're like, it seems a little odd because it feels like their reach is way beyond. Why are they doing Munchkin? They could do more than that.
Right.
And now we see, gosh, they are going to do more than that.
Yes.
And so, no information on the games that they have coming. The teasers, quite frankly, weren't super.
Yeah, it could be anything.
It's whatever. That's a game. So they weren't super compelling, but their fan base, their reach, you have to think it'll be successful.
Oh yeah.
And they've already had a couple licensed role-playing products. One, they had a campaign setting with Green Ronin.
Yep.
And then they had a recent Wizards of the Coast D&D 5e book.
Yes.
So I suspect that'll be all you see. They'll do their own now. Don't you think that they'll do their own?
Yeah, I don't think you'll see much Wizards published Critical Role stuff anymore because why would they put in that work when it's like they have? I mean, they are the catalyst for the explosion of interest in 5e, and so they know that they kind of have the power to publish what they want, and this gives them a little bit more creative freedom, even though I'm sure Wizards gave them as much of a leash as they probably wanted, but they can put out the stuff that they are passionate about and excited about. So yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, the entire community around Critical Role will eat up anything really that they put out. So as long as they get some good quality stuff out right away and sort of set a precedence that says, hey, this is what we're doing, and we're invested in this all the way, they'll sell it at least. I don't know if they'll be successful at it, but they'll sell it at least.
Well, and here's the wild thing, right? Is Paizo, they built an entire company with Pathfinder that when 4E went this direction, they forked 3rd edition and made an entire. I mean, what if Critical Role they take the open gaming license and they do kind of this sort of 6E sort of thing, and it's kind of a hybrid system, and then next thing you know, they're playing that on their show. This is
this is pretty big news. I think this is bigger than we're giving it. We're sort of
really
getting to that point.
I'm old enough to remember when WotC bought TSR. So History of D&D, Gygax, his company TSR, on through Wizards of the Coast, bought that company, and they didn't quite know what to do with it, and until they, and now WotC clearly knows D&D at this point by 5th edition, but you got to wonder, this feels like something on that level. This new company could come in and have a shift that could launch,
who knows what the next
a Paizo-sized contribution to the hobby, which would be huge.
That would be huge. Yeah, and you heard it here on the Punch List first. Probably first. I don't know where else you get news these days. This is the only legitimate source, even though it's crowdsourced. So put a pin on that, because that is it's probably going to come back, and we may be talking more about that in the future. Also, fun fact, in our Rise of the Runelords campaign, one of the characters, my brother's character, his name is Barnaby Darrington. So I said, Barnaby, what you doing? You starting a company in the late game of a campaign? So just a fun tidbit for you.
Yeah, I have no idea why they didn't call it Critical Role Publishing. Seemed like kind of a miss.
I don't know where the Darrington comes from. Maybe it's something that's within Critical Role. I don't know.
Yeah. So we're just learning.
So number 2, Netflix apparently has big plans for the Assassin's Creed franchise, and they've struck a deal with Ubisoft to develop live-action animated and anime series, which technically is also animated, based on the Assassin's Creed video game franchise. And we got a logo, and that's it. So that's sort of the soundbite news for you on that front.
Hey, Witcher was huge. Do it with Assassin's Creed, right? I mean, and I think it's great.
Yep, and Assassin's Creed is arguably much larger than Witcher was. They got.
It's a great setting for a live action show. I mean,
oh yeah.
And they have the studios are putting big money, and you can imagine if it's 6, 7, maybe even 10 million an episode, it would look fantastic, and they would make their money back plus more on top of that. So it's great. Hope it's as good as The Witcher.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, the games themselves they have so many cinematic parts of them too, cutscenes and whatnot. So I mean, they're no stranger to storytelling in Assassin's Creed. So we'll keep you posted as we hear more about that. Finally, number 1 on the punch list this week, you can meet the cast of Marvel Comics' upcoming Sword title. So that is releasing in December, Sword number 1. I don't know, Clay. I literally have nothing I can say about this, but you know more about Sword, so I'll let you roll with that.
Oh man, this is great. So let me give you the context. So if you aren't current on comics, a writer by the name of Jonathan Hickman, who is I am not smart enough to read his stuff because it has such layers and depth, and it uses iconography and all sorts of things. It's incredibly imaginative, and he has reimagined the X-Men in Marvel Comics, radically so, in a super interesting and engaging way. And so that's the House of X. You'll hear sometimes the Dawn of X, but that's the whole umbrella for the X-Men in Marvel Comics. And so they have several titles. Hickman doesn't write all of them. You know, there's a ton of mutants, let me tell you. And so they have lots of titles. They'll have a lot of the favorites though. They have the regular X-Men title. They have the New Mutants. They'll have the X Factor, the X Force, the Excalibur. Some of those really historically iconic X-Men titles, and then they have like the Hellions, and they have Wolverine. So there's a good half a dozen, 8 titles, and Sword is going to be into that. So as some of the titles wind down, they'll wind in new titles, all again in this umbrella. And I think it's really great. The author for this is Al Ewing, who does the Immortal Hulk right now, which is great. He is a great writer on the level of Hickman. And so I can imagine them collaborating together, and essentially what Sword will be is a cohesive vision of mutants in space, the way the House of X is mutants in the, on Earth, on the island of Krakoa, whatever. So all that probably seemed really weird and confusing. The summary is it's a fun new title, X-Men in space, great writer, fits into an established, really exciting established lore for the X-Men right now.
And to bring this all to the most full circle it can be, I believe your Marvel Strike Force MVP is partially due to your wonderful X-Men team with all of your favorite X-Men.
I love the X-Men. Chris Claremont forever, my friend.
This is if you want anything X-Men, you talk to Clay because he knows X-Men inside and out. He'll talk your ear off about the Australian X-Men. Don't even.
Those comics raised me, my friend. They are in my soul. They made me the nerd I am today.
We love to hear it. So that's the punch list this week. We'll run through the headlines one more time in case you skip to the end, which I don't know why you would do that. Number 7, Spider-Man 3 has begun production, which leads to number 6 of Shang-Chi calling it a wrap on filming. So more to come there. Number 5, Oscar Isaac is in talks to star in Moon Knight on Disney+. Unearthed Arcana, number 4, New Ranger and Monk Archetypes are coming for D&D 5e, so you can read about those. Number 3, Critical Role has expanded with Darrington Press, their new tabletop games publishing company. Number 2, Netflix has big plans for the Assassin's Creed franchise in the form of many different kinds of shows. And number 1, you can check out the cast for Marvel Comics' upcoming Sword title that is coming in December. Clave, this has been the Punch List. I'm so privileged to be speaking with such an X-Men expert, War MVP, and just an all-around great nerd. It's been a pleasure talking news with you, my friend.
Abram, buddy, you're the best.
Second best compared to you.
Stop it.
That'll do it from us, nerds. So go ahead and check out nerdsonearth.com for all of your nerdy needs. We got news articles of all kinds, something for everybody. And we will see you next time.
Later, nerds.